All right. Why there will never be a Star Wars Battlefront 3. This is from the Act Man, and this was from 2 weeks ago. Torsten. Yeah, it would definitely make it more interesting, that's for sure. Why there will never be a Battlefront 3. Let's see what he's got to say. And I wonder if he means the classic Battlefront 3 or the more newer take of Battlefront 3. Find out next week on Dragon Ball Z.
What's up, everybody? This is the Youngling Killer Man here, and today, I recently went back to play Battlefront 2, and I was having so much fun with my buddies, but then I became really confused. As I was meditating and watching those wrist rockets just like the simulations, I saw a vision of the future. It was a dark vision, so horrible
in my opinion, I think Star Wars Battlefront 2, the older one versus the newer one, the older one is far better, but that's just me.
Almost shudder to think about it. No. I saw a future completely devoid of Star Wars Battlefront 3. I recently had an epiphany. It's like, why hasn't Battlefront 3 been announced yet? I mean, it's been almost 6 years since the last one. What could possibly be taking so long? And then it hit me like a blaster bolt to the groin. Battlefront 3 is taking so long because they're not making it.
Impossible. No. Perhaps the archives are incomplete.
And then I had an even worse realization. Battlefront 3 will likely never be released. Because always two there are. No more, no less. At this point,
we're going back to that. Hold on. Right. Nope. Right there. These right here, these ones on the left-hand side, so much better than these ones on the right-hand side. Funny story, when this game came out, look, I was such a huge fan of these two games that this game right here was the whole reason why I bought a new computer with an NVIDIA RTX 980. I think that was what they were called, GTX, RTX, I'm not sure, but it was a 980. And I thought I was top dog for having that 980. I thought, ooh, I am the man. I will say the computer did last for about 10 years, 12 years before it died a horrible, horrible death, and multiple things started breaking down within the computer. And then I got the one that I am on now. Shh, and full disclosure, my wife doesn't know it yet, but I'm secretly saving for a new one. But oh yeah, the GTX. It was the GTX. You're right. But yeah, that was all. This game right here, Battlefront, was the whole reason why I bought a whole new computer. It was pretty bad, Torsten. It was pretty bad.
Good evening,
what's up, Canop?
We are tonight's entertainment.
Towards the end of its life cycle, I was really only able to play. What was I playing on there? I was playing Diablo 2 Resurrected and Path of Exile. That was about all. That was about all it could handle at that point, and then it died. And I bought a new PC, and I really only thought I was going to be playing like a couple of first-person shooters and Diablo, and then somebody introduced me to this damn space crack called Star Citizen. But hey, 12-year-old computer, man.
At this point, I'm convinced this series is cursed to never replicate the movies.
It is
and
cursed.
Create its own complete trilogy.
I'm doing great,
today,
Canop. How are you doing?
Talk about the tragedy of Star Wars Battlefront 3. But first, why is Battlefront so important? Yes, this is a dumb question, but Star Wars has seen hundreds of games release over the last 40 years across every conceivable genre. And amongst all of these Star Wars games, I'd go out and say Battlefront 3 is the most important and iconic. It combines virtually everything we love about Star Wars into a single game. Epic space battles, intense boots-on-the-ground combat, large-scale warfare with vehicles, clones,
yeah, but what's crazy though is Battlefront 2, 10 years that preceded it by 10 years or whatever it was, did it far better with mixing boots on the ground in space. You could land your troop transports inside of enemy capital ships and take them out from the inside. If I do remember, you could have far more fighters in the air above the ground locations than you can in the current Battlefront 2. But I still think, and Backspace said it the best a few minutes ago, the original Battlefront games were about a decade ahead of their time.
Droids,
TIE Fighter was the
Wookiees,
shit, man.
Ewoks, tons of different classes
TIE Fighter was so
across
good.
all three eras of the films. All our favorite heroes and villains duking it out across several
X-Wing versus
different
TIE Fighter was good,
Battlefront
too.
to me always felt like Star Wars' answer to other mainstream online shooters. Something that could go toe-to-toe with whatever the top shooter is. Fortnite, Halo, COD, doesn't matter. Battlefront can compete with it. And not to mention the
Sorta.
fan service these games provided and memorable one-liners.
True.
Now hear this. All hands man your battle stations.
All four mainline Battlefronts.
I wish I had the Chaos Squad thing. You know, battle station. Oh, or, everyone, battle stations. Oh, I'm dead. That soundbite is so good. Hey, thanks for the 20 likes, guys. I appreciate it.
Are in the top 10 list of best-selling Star Wars titles ever.
Really?
The Battlefront
The
series
Legos
has
ones were
sold
good,
well
too.
over 43 million copies. That's like a fourth of all Star Wars video game sales. And that's what's so confusing about this. EA has historically been, well, how would I put this?
Maybe he'll cover it, but do you guys think it did? Yeah, Battlefront did not. It's not a competitive shooter, and everybody wants a competitive shooter, and Battlefront is not that right now. It is not that. Do you guys think that one of the reasons why they won't put out a battle, and maybe he'll get into it, one of the reasons why they won't do a Battlefront 3 is because Disney is just not doing so well right now, and number two, Disney has not really, outside of Legos, has not really put out any Star Wars related games. So I wonder if maybe that has something to do with it. Is it's Disney's call?
A company that might secretly be run by Mr. Krabs.
Is this good for the player?
Battlefront is just an awesome series. It's an amazing concept. And better yet,
I have
it's a
fun with
money
it.
printing machine. And they've decided to turn it off? Huh? Star Wars Battlefront 3 isn't happening? DICE won't get the chance to make it?
No fucking way!
What kind of nonsense is this?
So nobody's working on a new Battlefront game. Why? Just in case you had the tiniest sliver of hope that I might be wrong about this, according to this VentureBeat article, DICE and EA are not working on Battlefront 3 and have no plans to.
That's
Ladies and gentlemen,
kinda
please
bad.
take out your lightsabers and join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. And the
I should have
craziest thing
gone
about
and
it,
got my
apparently
lightsabers from
EA
the corner over
rejected a
there.
sales
I got a
pitch
few of
from
them.
DICE for Battlefront 3. I guess everyone was putting all their eggs in the 2042 basket.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
You chose poorly.
Yeah,
As Tom
that was
Henderson
a
says, due
bad,
to licensing costs,
bad
it
game.
takes 20% more sales to make the same money, said one past developer. So EA
Wow.
was concerned about not getting 20% more sales than usual. Buddy? Buster? My guy? My dude? It's Star Wars.
Here's the thing. You want to sell a lot of things. Like, you got a video game and you want to sell a lot of stuff. Let's see if is it in the cut. Let's see.
20% more sales than usual. Buddy?
You want to make
Buster?
money? This
My
is how
guy?
you do
My
it.
dude? It's Star Wars.
You want to make a lot of money? You see those two words, you put them in front of anything, you make fuckloads of money almost immediately. Games are not Disney's plans at the moment. They're focused on buying up the market, so all the money will go to, yep, you're probably right, Cannot.
Wars. It's Battlefront. It sells on its name alone. I mean, just think about how fucking hyped people would be if Battlefront 3 got announced.
Now, here's a sci-fi thing, and I'll bring it up now, and maybe we can discuss it after the video. I love MechWarrior and BattleTech. BattleTech and MechWarrior are one and the same. I kind of wish they would do a Game of Thrones centric. I mean, honestly, BattleTech was Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones existed. I kind of wish they would do a BattleTech / MechWarrior TV show that was very much of the Game of Thrones type stuff. Enough is enough. Unity devs found out that, yes, that's true. That's true.
Remember how I talked about Baldur's Gate 3 being the culmination of Larian's work on RPGs? That's what I feel like Battlefront 3 could have been. Maybe if they didn't stop working on the second game to make 2042, life would be a lot different and better. Just in case there weren't enough reasons to be salty about 2042, its godforsaken release is a huge reason why EA is distancing themselves from DICE. In turn, DICE has decided... Oh, thank you. That they'll be focusing entirely on fixing 2042. As of June 22nd last year, I don't think anything has changed. DICE's general manager says, we are only focusing on 2042.
They were very
no
microtransaction heavy.
Else. In 3 years, we want to be the first-person shooter powerhouse that DICE deserves to be. DICE certainly deserves to be an FPS
also
powerhouse.
A good point.
Because they're not right now, and that's what this statement implies.
It is such a quiet thing to fall. But far more terrible is to admit it.
DICE is in a rebuild season right now, probably for a few seasons, which makes sense. She also said, I want the team to be really proud about Battlefield 2042.
What is there to be proud of?
They are chasing, and they have their hearts and passion.
I'm sorry, but that was a crap game.
I was going to make a joke about abandoning a ship.
I suppose you could be proud of your work if you know you were a specific developer and you did a specific thing in that game, and you could be proud of it. But the game as a whole is a dumpster. This is a dumpster fire.
It's already been sunk, but I can respect it. If you take a massive dump in the kitchen, you can't just wait for it to decompose. You gotta clean that up. Get some disinfectant. I can understand why fixing Battlefield 2042 is more of a priority in terms of like pride, but I don't quite understand why DICE isn't pursuing the more lucrative option.
It's true. I won't, but yes, they will. Other people
was so
will.
Bad in my eyes
will.
that working on it does feel like a lost cause, because I'm probably never gonna play it again. I doubt that game's launch is something they can recover from, like the launch of BF2. I'd rather them go back to updating that to be
Battlefield 4 had a spectacularly terrible launch as well, but they were able to, it took about 3-4 months, but they were able to finally turn that game around. And you know, it sucks. I'm sorry, but 2042 is never going to have that kind of a turnaround. You know, also Battlefield 4 was what, 10 years ago? So the climate was totally different.
Quite honest,
the
even if
gaming
we're impatient as fuck
totally
and want a Battlefront 3 ASAP, I don't think anybody wants DICE, at least current DICE, to make one. Perhaps fixing and improving 2042 is a test for DICE, and if they prove themselves...
I've literally played every single Battlefield title except for Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 2042.
Maybe they'll get another shot. At the very least, we have a consolation prize, because at least 2 other Star Wars games are in development.
Oh, and Battlefield 5. I did not play Battlefield 5.
Respawn and an unnamed strategy game. So those are some pretty big reasons why we're not getting Battlefront 3 anytime soon. But is it still possible?
I will say one of the best strategy games that I've played was, it's an older one. It's called Star Wars Rebellion. God, I want to say that was like a Windows XP game. Ish. That was a really good one. Star Wars Empire at War, I think it was called. That was an okay one. That was an okay one. That was an okay one. It's better with mods, but Star Wars Rebellion, oof, that was a sick ass game back in the day.
To get it in the unforeseen future? I don't know, man. There's a lot of hurdles to overcome, like monetization. I'm not sure who loves live service games
he's talking
more,
about
Activision
it now.
or EA, but it's safe to say I bet a lot of higher-ups were pissed they had to pull loot boxes out of the game at the last minute. I mean, the entire internet got so pissed. It completely derailed their monetization plans, and they didn't even introduce microtransactions into Battlefront 2 until 5 months after release. That's
right?
5 months of loot
isn't that
box
awesome
sales
about
they missed out
Battlefield
on. No doubt this
Backspace?
left a bad taste in EA's mouth. It left a bad taste in all our mouths, man. Sometimes I still get a faint whiff of goat vomit every time I think about someone paying for star cards. Like Battlefield 2042, it seems the continued updates,
Daisy is
development, and
amazing.
content for
I love
Battlefront
Daisy.
2
I need to play it
was
more.
there to repair the game's image, as well as DICE's. You know, they ended up replacing loot boxes with paid cosmetics, many that were awesome, but no way in Hoth did they make more money than they would have with loot boxes. In this sense, Battlefront 3 might seem too risky to the EA higher-ups, and a game like that is going to need funding. The stigma around this series
It would be
is
nice,
also
Canop. It
too
would be
strong
nice
to ignore. I mean, loot boxes became associated with gambling, and several countries introduced new legislation as a result. This was basically the
loot boxes are such shit. And thank you for 21 likes today, and thank you for everybody following me over on Kick today. I appreciate that. Loot boxes are such shit. They should get rid of them. They really should. I hate loot boxes, battle passes, loot boxes, season passes. All that shit needs to go away. I'm tired of spending, you know, $60, $70, $100 on a game to be told 2 months later I need to spend another $14.99 to buy a season pass, or $24.99 for you know, battle pass or whatever it is. It's so stupid.
straw that broke the camel's back, and now everyone has slowly but surely abandoned the loot box model.
That's actually not a bad idea, Backspace.
We defeated the loot box menace, but we paid a heavy price for that. Battlefront 3 was the cost of that victory. Any
I think
announcement from
2042
Battlefront 3
was the
would
cost
bring
of
up
that.
that same discussion again, you know? How the hell would they monetize this game without pissing people off? Well, paid premium cosmetics are always a barrel to dip into. So the bottom line, DICE and EA aren't working on Battlefront 3 because it's too much of a clusterfuck. And although these reasons make sense, it doesn't make it any less disappointing. But Actman, I have an ace up my sleeve, a trump card. What if another studio were to make it? I hate to disappoint you, but that idea is more improbable than DICE making it. I mean, I guess EA doesn't hold a monopoly on the Star Wars video game license anymore.
No,
I suppose
they don't.
anybody could make Battlefront 3, but here's the conundrum. We all have pretty high expectations for an official third Battlefront, so
Boba's
anything less than
legendary
what we have in
OG.
2 is gonna feel like a downgrade. Like I said, DICE is in no position to make it, especially after losing so much senior talent in the last few years. And I want to believe you that another studio could do it, but the nail in the coffin for this idea is if that studio isn't working with the Frostbite engine, they'll have to start from scratch. Now, the Frostbite engine can apparently be licensed to other studios, but
Yes.
it's also notoriously hard to work with. So no studio in their right mind is going to license that software, pay the licensing fee to DICE and for the Star Wars IP, to then take years to teach their staff how to use it just to salvage the work that DICE has. If DICE
you
would even
could
let
use a
them use
totally
that work,
different
you know what I
engine. It would
mean?
just take you 4
see what a
years to do it.
clusterfuck this would be? So much awesome work has already been done that, like, scrapping all of that is just an awful idea. Whoever makes Battlefront
No.
3 needs
I don't know about you guys, but I think one of the things that would appeal more to the general audience and not just Star Wars fan is if it was a legit competitive shooter like Call of Duty and Battlefield and other games. Battlefront 2 is very, very much a Twitch shooter and not super competitive. And I think if it was more competitive or up to the standards of a competitive shooter, more people would buy it and it would be an even bigger hit. But that's my opinion. That's my opinion. Book of Boba Fett was a dumpster fire. It's like they were actively trying to neuter the coolest non-Jedi. Yeah, kinda. About 2 hours now, JT. It's okay. I don't take attendance. You know, there's no demerits. You know, you don't have to write your name on the board 100 times, JT.
needs to build on what's already there, because that's the
We're gonna
only
be
way
ending
we're
it
going to
pretty
get
soon.
galactic conquest again. This is all besides the point that the perfect Battlefront 3 had already been canceled once before. Unfortunately, there's just too much drama surrounding the series. I mean, the third and fourth games were planned by Free Radical and LucasArts, but bad blood between the two companies got them both canceled. Former Free Radical developer and current lead designer at Naughty Dog, Michael Barclay, said, Star Wars Battlefront 3 was going to be legit incredible, and the fact it got canceled 2 yards from the finish line is an absolute crime.
Ooh.
Gamers don't know what they were robbed of. Oh, I know, Michael. I know that we were robbed of a contender for greatest Star Wars video game ever made. I know you guys were planning on having ground to space battles in the same scenario, the
That
same
would have been
map.
awesome.
I know that you guys wanted to add Master Coda, Asajj Ventress.
One of my favorite things of Star Wars Battlefront 2, the original one, was the galactic campaigns where you could go around the galaxy and like take over planets, and you'd have to start in space, break through the space, then go on the ground, do the ground things, and then you could unlock things like extra back to tanks for your soldiers, or you know, there was like offensive, defensive, and utility things that you could unlock at each planet. I forget how it all worked out, but it was really cool, and that was the original Battlefront 2. I really liked how they did that. And then, of course, they had the 3 settings at the time because sequels didn't exist. So they had prequel, Galactic Civil War. So I guess there was only 2 games. Oh, no, and the third one was a mixture of the 2, I believe. Can't fire me because I quit.
And Ahsoka as playable heroes. Still don't have that. And that you could just take off with a ship and fly up to an enemy carrier. And then it's just like you're in the Battlefront 2 space battles.
Now hear this.
A 4th game was in the pre-planning phase, and it would have been all about what ifs, alternate scenarios. And I found some of the coolest fucking concept art that I can't believe none of this has been used to sell skins or anything. Like Dark Mace Windu,
I agree,
an alternate scenario where his lightsaber exploded in the duel with Sidious, but he survived. Redeemed Vader. Look at that. Dark Jedi Leia, pre-cyborg Grievous. Shit, man, I'd pay good money for cosmetics like these. A Battlefront game that's all about what-if scenarios, just, it sounds like the perfect direction. It's such a shame, man. Free Radical had so many incredible ideas that you can check out on this archive site if you want to be sad. Although the unfinished gameplay looks rough, it gives you a pretty good idea of how awesome this game would have been if it was complete. These concept art images remind me of that alternate ending in the episode 3 game where Anakin kills Obi-Wan in the Mustafar duel, and then he kills Palpatine and says,
No, the galaxy belongs to me.
And that was one of like the...
Honestly, that would have been dope as shit if that would have happened and Anakin was running the show. That would have been cool as fuck, but you know, we got what we got. You know, and I won't bitch about it, but that would have been cool as hell.
Coolest Star Wars moments ever. So imagine creating an entire game based around moments and stories like that. What would have happened if Darth Vader lived, you know, after Luke saved him from the Emperor? What if Luke turned to the dark side at some point? Maybe these games are just too ambitious, and that's why we haven't seen a 3rd one. Free Radical apparently was unable to meet milestones, deadlines, and eventually LucasArts
sounds like another Star game we play.
Got fed up with it. And though Battlefront 2015 offered a great spectacle, it just wasn't it, Chief. You know, nobody wants to have a neutered Battlefront again with no Clone Wars or space battles. You know what I mean? Anything less than what we currently have with Battlefront 2 would feel disappointing. Realistically, it's just such an imposing game for anyone to make. So with all that being said, I think it's apparent why Battlefront 3 hasn't been made, why it was canceled in 2008, and why EA
Don't try it, Anakin. I have the high ground.
Pitch for it, and why nobody is currently working on it. It's a monumental task too easy to fuck up. I hope to see it one day. I mean, hopefully before I die, because there's a hole in my heart that only wrist rockets can fill. The series just might be too ambitious, too much of a risk, and not a single developer is in a position to build off the latest entry. So where does that leave us? Well, you and me, we're all just brothers and sisters.
Torsten, it would be a cool what-if story.
That is the tragedy of Star Wars Battlefront 3. But what do you think? Post your thoughts and ideas for your ideal Battlefront 3.
We're going to discuss our ideas here.
Like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the Act Man for more awesome.
All right, that was the Act Man and why we won't see a Battlefront 3. I'll share that with you guys. Chat is acting up again. I apologize for that, so I can't send anything over there. Guys, that was really good. Go to